The restaurant went dead silent. Whitney Osei watched
Let's get
from
this
behind
started.
the espresso machine as the woman in the white Chanel suit threw a champagne glass across the dining room. Not at anyone in particular. Just threw it because she could. Because everyone here in this upscale Charlotte steakhouse knew exactly who she was. Park Ji-hoon's fiancée. The glass shattered somewhere near table 7, and Whitney saw her manager Gerald practically folding himself in half with apologies. The woman, Hana was her name, didn't even look at him. She was too busy screaming into her phone in Korean, her perfectly manicured nails gesturing wildly. "Someone get this cleaned up," Gerald hissed, rushing past Whitney toward the kitchen. Whitney grabbed the small broom and dustpan from the supply closet. Her shift was supposed to end in 20 minutes, but apparently not anymore. She walked slowly toward the broken glass, keeping her head down the way she'd learned to do in the 6 months since moving. From Lesotho to the States. Don't make eye contact. Don't draw attention. Just survive. But Hana's voice kept rising, sharp and cruel, and when Whitney got close enough to sweep up the glass, she caught some of the words, even though her Korean was limited to what she'd picked up from dramas. Pathetic. Embarrassment. Lucky I even... The person on the other end of the phone must have said something because Hana laughed. Cold. Mean. "He does what I tell him," Hana said, switching to English now. "They all do." Whitney kept sweeping. Almost done. Just a few more pieces. Then Hana's designer heel came down, right in the pile of glass Whitney had just swept together. "Oh." Hana looked down, then at Whitney, like she'd just noticed her for the first time. "You missed a spot." She kicked the glass, scattering it everywhere again. Something in Whitney's chest went tight. She'd dealt with rude customers before, plenty of them. But this was different. This was deliberate. This was someone who hurt people because she enjoyed it. Whitney straightened up slowly. She was tall, 5'10" without shoes, and she had at least 3 inches on Hana even with those heels. "I'll clean it again," Whitney said quietly, her Sesotho accent making the words softer than she felt. "You'll clean it right this time." Hana stepped closer. "Do you know who I am?" "Yes, ma'am." "Then you know I could have you fired." Hana smiled. "I could have this whole restaurant shut down." Probably true. From what Whitney had heard, Park Ji-hoon basically owned half of Charlotte's business district, and what he didn't own, his family did. The Parks were old money and new power, the kind of Korean family that had turned their traditional connections into a modern empire that operated in shadows. "I understand," Whitney said. She started to kneel down again to re-sweep the glass, but Hana's hand shot out and grabbed her wrist, hard enough to hurt. "Look at me when I'm talking to you." Whitney looked up, met those cold eyes, straight on. And maybe it was because she was tired. Maybe it was because she'd left everything she knew to come to America and work doubles at a restaurant just to send money home to her younger siblings. Maybe it was because she'd had enough of people treating her like she was invisible. "Let go of my wrist," Whitney said, not loud, not aggressive, just firm. Hana's eyes widened, like she couldn't believe someone had just refused her. "What did you just—" "I said, let go." Whitney gently pulled her wrist free. "I'll clean the glass. I'll do my job. But you don't get to put your hands on me." The restaurant had gone silent again, but different this time. Everyone was staring now. Gerald looked like he was about to pass out. Hana's face went red. "Do you have any idea who you're talking to?" "Park Ji-hoon's fiancée," Whitney said calmly. "You mentioned it twice." For a second, Whitney thought Hana might actually hit her. The woman's hand came, up, shaking with rage. "Hana!" The voice came from the entrance, deep, quiet. But it cut through everything else like a knife. Everyone turned. "Wait. Before we begin, look at your hands. Are they steady?" Because by the time this story ends, they won't be. You didn't just click on a video. You just walked through a door that locks behind you. We don't talk about crushes here. We talk about consequences. We talk about the kind of gravity that pulls two people together until they both break. If you're ready to see what happens when the wrong person is exactly right, I need to know who I'm talking to. Type your city in the comments. Let's see how far this shadow reaches. If you've already forgotten the world outside, hit like. Subscribe to stay in the dark with us, and turn on that bell. You won't want to be the last to know what happens next. Now, pay close attention. Park Ji-hoon stood in the doorway of the restaurant, and Whitney understood immediately why people feared him. It wasn't his height, though he was tall, probably 6'1". It wasn't the expensive suit or the way he held himself. It was his eyes. Dark, measuring, missing nothing. He walked toward them, and two men in dark suits followed a few steps behind. His security, probably. Hana's whole demeanor changed instantly, the rage melting into something practiced and sweet. Ji-hoon, darling, I was just... Go wait in the car. His Korean was clipped, final. But this waitress, now! Hana's mouth snapped shut. She shot Whitney one last poisonous look, then grabbed her purse and stalked toward the door, her heels clicking against the hardwood. Ji-hoon watched her go, then turned to Gerald. Send me the bill for any damages, and add a month's salary for... He looked at Whitney, waiting. Whitney, she said quietly. For Whitney. He pulled out his wallet, extracted several $100 bills, and handed them to Gerald. For her trouble. Mr. Park, that's really not necessary, Gerald started. It is. Ji-hoon's eyes moved back to Whitney. I apologize for my fiancé's behavior. It won't happen again. Then he left, just as quietly as he'd come. Whitney stood there, holding the broom, her heart doing something weird in her chest. Gerald was counting the money with shaking hands. The other customers slowly started talking again, the buzz of conversation filling the space. Well, Gerald said finally. That was... Yeah, Whitney agreed. She finished cleaning up the glass, refused the money Gerald tried to give her from Ji-hoon's payment. It felt wrong somehow, and clocked out exactly 20 minutes late. Outside, the November air was cold enough to make her pull her thin jacket tighter. The bus wouldn't come for another 15 minutes. Whitney sat at the bench and pulled out her phone, checking the messages from home. Her brother Thabo had sent a photo of him and their little sister Kafilwi at school, both of them smiling in their uniforms. Miss you, Thabo had written. Kefi says she's going to study extra hard so she can come to America too. Whitney smiled, even though it hurt a little. She'd been sending money home every month since she got here, and it was working. The kids were in good schools now, eating regularly, had books and clothes, but she missed them so much sometimes it felt like something physical. Whitney. She looked up, startled. Park Ji-hoon stood a few feet away, alone this time. His car, a sleek black Mercedes, was parked at the curb with the engine running. Mr. Park. Whitney stood up automatically. Just Ji-hoon is fine. He hesitated, like he was choosing his words carefully. I wanted to apologize again. Hana's behavior was unacceptable. It's okay. It's not. His voice was still quiet, but there was steel underneath. You should have felt safe at your workplace. Instead, you were assaulted. I'm fine, really. Ji-hoon studied her for a moment. You're from Lesotho. It wasn't a question, but Whitney nodded anyway. How did you? Your accent. He smiled slightly. I spend a lot of time learning about different places, different people. Oh. They stood there in awkward silence. A car passed, its headlights sweeping across them. Can I give you a ride home? Ji-hoon asked suddenly. What? No, I take the bus. It's cold, and it's late, He gestured to the Mercedes. "I insist, as an apology." Whitney knew this was a bad idea. This man was engaged. His fiancée already hated her. And from what she'd heard, the Park family wasn't the kind of people you wanted to get involved with. But it was really cold, and the bus was late, and something about the way he looked at her. Not like she was invisible. Not like she was beneath him. Just like she was a person worth seeing. "Okay," she said quietly. "Thank you." The car was warm. Leather seats, classical music playing softly. Ji-hoon opened the door for her himself, didn't let his driver do it. "Where to?" he asked once they were both inside. Whitney gave him the address of her apartment in a neighborhood that definitely didn't see many Mercedes. He didn't comment on it, just told the driver in Korean. They drove in silence for a few minutes. Whitney kept her hands folded in her lap, very aware of how out of place she felt in this expensive car. "How long have you been in Charlotte?" Ji-hoon asked. 6 months. "Do you like it?" Whitney thought about that. It's different. Very different from home. "Do you miss it?" "Lesotho?" "Every day." The words came out before she could stop them. "But I'm here for my siblings. They need me to be here right now." Ji-hoon nodded slowly. "Family is important." "Do you have siblings?" "An older brother. We're not close." His jaw tightened slightly. "My family is complicated. Most families are, probably." That got a small smile from him. True. They fell quiet again. But it was different now. Less awkward, maybe. The city. Lights passed outside the windows, and Whitney found herself studying Ji-hoon's profile in the dim light. Sharp features. Tired eyes. He looked like someone carrying a lot of weight. "Can I ask you something?" Ji-hoon said suddenly. "Sure." "Why did you stand up to Hana? Most people..." He hesitated. "Most people don't." Whitney thought about how to answer that. "My grandmother used to say that you teach people how to treat you. If I let anyone, treat me like I'm nothing, then that's what I become." Ji-hoon turned to look at her fully. "Your grandmother sounds wise." She was. Past tense hurt. She passed 2 years ago. "I'm sorry." They pulled up in front of Whitney's apartment building. It wasn't much. 4 floors, brick facade, bars on some windows. But it was clean, and the rent was manageable. "Thank you for the ride," Whitney said, reaching for the door handle. "Whitney." Ji-hoon's voice stopped her. I know I have no right to ask this. But would you have dinner with me sometime? Just dinner. Just 2 people talking." Her stomach did a flip. "You're engaged." "I am." His voice went flat. "It's a business arrangement. Has been from the start." "That doesn't make it okay." "You're right." Ji-hoon looked down at his hands. "You're completely right. I apologize. That was inappropriate." Whitney should have left then. Should have thanked him again and walked away and never thought about Park Ji-hoon again. Instead, she heard herself say, "What kind of dinner?" His eyes came up, surprised. "What?" "You said just dinner. Just 2 people talking." Her heart was beating too fast. "What kind of dinner?" "The kind where I get to know you better," Ji-hoon said carefully. "The kind where maybe you tell me more about Lesotho and your siblings and your grandmother's wisdom. The kind where I get to talk to someone who sees me as a person instead of a name or a bank account or a Mafia boss," Whitney supplied. He smiled, and it transformed his whole face. "I prefer businessman. But yes, 1 dinner," Whitney said. "Just talking." "Just talking," he agreed. She gave him her number, then got out of the car before she could change her mind, walked up to her apartment in a daze, sat on her second-hand couch and stared at her phone for 20 minutes before the text came through. "This is Ji-hoon. Thank you for saying yes." "How's Tuesday?" Whitney typed and deleted 4 different responses before settling on. Tuesday works. His reply was immediate. I'll pick you up at 7. Dress casual. She had no idea what she'd just agreed to. No idea how this could possibly end well. Ji-hoon was engaged to a woman who already hated her. He was involved in things that Whitney probably didn't want to know about. This was complicated in every possible way. But when Tuesday came, Whitney found herself standing in front of her small closet, trying to figure out what casual meant for dinner with a Korean businessman who drove a Mercedes and had people who feared him. She settled on dark jeans and a simple cream sweater, her natural hair pulled back in a low puff. Minimal makeup, her grandmother's bracelet on her wrist for courage. Ji-hoon arrived exactly at 7. He was wearing jeans, too. Designer, probably, but still jeans. And a black Henley that made him look younger somehow. More approachable. You look beautiful, he said when she opened the door. Thank you. Whitney grabbed her jacket. Where are we going? You'll see. He took her to a small Korean restaurant in a quiet part of town, the kind of place that didn't have a sign in English. The owner greeted Ji-hoon with obvious respect, but also warmth, like they actually knew each other. This is my favorite place in Charlotte, Ji-hoon said once they were seated in a private corner booth. No one from my usual circles comes here. It's just good food and good people. The owner brought them tea and banchan without being asked. Ji-hoon ordered in Korean, then looked at Whitney. I hope you don't mind. I got a variety of things so you can try different dishes. I don't mind. Whitney wrapped her hands around the warm teacup. I've never had Korean food before. Really? Then this is, he smiled. This is good. I get to introduce you. The food came in waves. Bulgogi and kimchi, jjigae and japchae, and at least 6 other things Whitney couldn't pronounce. Ji-hoon explained each one, showed her how to use the chopsticks properly when hers kept slipping, laughed when she made a face at the spicier dishes. Not a fan of gochugaru, he teased. What's that? Korean chili flakes, very spicy. Everything here is spicy, Whitney said, reaching for more water. Try this. He pushed a different bowl toward her. Japchae, glass noodles with vegetables, not spicy at all. She did, and it was delicious, sweet and savory, and completely different from anything she'd had before. Better? Ji-hoon asked. Much better. They talked while they ate. Ji-hoon asked about Lesotho, really asked, wanted to know about the mountains and the culture, and what it was like growing up there. Whitney found herself telling him about her grandmother's small house in the foothills, about helping her cook pap and moroho, about cold winter mornings when they'd wrap themselves in blankets and watch the sunrise. It sounds peaceful, Ji-hoon said quietly. It was. Whitney took another sip of tea. What about you? What was growing up as a park like? His expression shuddered slightly. Complicated. My father had very specific expectations. My brother met them. I didn't. What kind of expectations? The kind that involved choosing duty over everything else. Ji-hoon set down his chopsticks. My engagement to Hana, that's duty. Our families have been connected for 3 generations. The marriage was arranged when we were children. But you don't love her. No. He met her eyes. And she doesn't love me. We're just playing our parts. That sounds lonely, Whitney said softly. It is. His voice dropped. Until recently, it was just what I expected, what I'd accepted. But then I walked into a restaurant and watched a woman stand up to Hana without flinching, and I thought, maybe there's a different way to live. Whitney's heart was doing that weird thing again. Ji-hoon, I know this is unfair to you, he said quickly. I know I have no right to ask for your time or your attention when I'm still technically engaged. But I can't. I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since that night. I haven't stopped thinking about you either, Whitney admitted. They sat there looking at each other across the table, and Whitney felt like she was standing at the edge of something huge, and possibly dangerous, and completely life-changing. "What happens now?" she asked. "I don't know." Ji-hoon reached across the table, palm up, an invitation. "But maybe we figure it out together." Whitney looked at his hand, thought about all the reasons this was a terrible idea, thought about Hana and the park's power, and the fact that she was just a waitress from Lesotho who had no business getting involved with someone like Ji-hoon. Then she thought about his smile, about the way he really listened when she talked, about how he'd stood up for her without being asked. She put her hand in his fingers closed around hers, warm and careful. "Together," she said. Over the next few weeks, they fell into a pattern. Ji-hoon would pick Whitney up after her shifts, and they'd go to quiet places. The Korean restaurant, a park on the edge of town, a small bookstore that stayed open late. Places where they could just be two people getting to know each other, without the weight of his name or his family or his engagement hanging over them. He brought her gifts, small things, thoughtful things. A book of Sesotho poetry he'd found online, a scarf in the exact shade of blue she'd mentioned, liking, a photo album for the pictures of her siblings. "You pay attention," Whitney said one night, running her fingers over the soft scarf. "Of course I do." Ji-hoon looked almost offended by the idea that he wouldn't. "Everything you say matters to me." They played games at a vintage arcade Ji-hoon had discovered, him laughing as Whitney absolutely destroyed him at air hockey. They walked through the city at night, Ji-hoon's security following at a discreet distance. They sat in his car in parking lots, just talking until 2 in the morning, sharing stories and dreams and fears. "My brother thinks I'm weak," Ji-hoon told her one night. "He thinks because I don't want to run the family business the way our father did. Because I want to make things legitimate. That I'm not strong enough. Wanting to be better than what came before you isn't weakness," Whitney said firmly. "That's courage." He looked at her like she'd given him something precious. "How do you always know the right thing to say?" "I don't. I see you, Ji-hoon. The real you, not the scary boss everyone else sees." "I like who I am when I'm with you," he said softly. But reality had a way of intruding. 3 weeks into whatever they were doing, Whitney's manager Gerald pulled her aside at work. "Listen, Whitney, I like you, okay? You're a good worker, but I've been getting pressure." Her stomach sank. "What kind of pressure?" "The kind that comes from very important people." Gerald wouldn't meet her eyes. "I've been told that having you here is problematic." "Hana, I can't confirm that, but..." He sighed. "I'm sorry, I really am. But I can't lose this restaurant over one employee." Whitney stood there, feeling like the floor had dropped out from under her. This job was how she paid rent, how she sent money home, how she survived. "How long do I have?" she asked quietly. "End of the week." She finished her shift in a daze, then called Ji-hoon as soon as she got outside. "I'm coming to get you," he said immediately after she told him, "Stay there." He arrived in 15 minutes, probably broke every traffic law getting there. Whitney got in the car and finally let herself feel it. The fear, the anger, the helplessness. "She can't do this," Whitney said. "She can't just ruin my life because she doesn't like me. I'll fix this." Ji-hoon's voice was hard. "I'll talk to Gerald, No." Whitney turned to him. "If you fix it, she'll just find another way, another job, another place. She won't stop until I'm gone. Then I'll end the engagement and lose everything with your family, your position, your ability to change things from the inside." Whitney shook her head. "I won't be the reason you lose that. You're more important. We've known each other 3 weeks, Ji-hoon." It hurt to say, but it was true. You can't blow up your whole life for someone you've known 3 weeks. He pulled over suddenly, right there on the side of the road, turned to face her fully. "Listen to me," he said intensely. I have spent my entire life doing what other people expected, playing the part they wrote for me, being who they needed me to be, and I was fine with that. I thought that was just how life worked, until I met you. His hand came up, gentle against her cheek. These 3 weeks with you have been more real than anything else in my life, he continued. When I'm with you, I'm not the park heir or Hana's fiancé or my father's disappointment. I'm just me. And for the first time, that feels like enough. Whitney felt tears burning in her eyes. What are we going to do? I need time, Ji-hoon said. Time to handle things with my family the right way. Time to make sure Hana can't hurt you anymore. Can you trust me? Can you give me time? She wanted to say yes immediately, wanted to believe this could work. But her grandmother's voice was in her head. Be smart, Whitney. Love is wonderful, but wisdom keeps you alive. How much time? She asked. A month. Maybe 2. He looked pained. I know that's asking a lot. I'll need a job. I have connections I can… No. Whitney pulled back gently. If we're doing this, if we're really trying to make this work, then it has to be clean. No favors from you. No debts. I find my own job. Ji-hoon looked like he wanted to argue, but finally nodded. Okay, but let me at least help with rent until you find something. Please. Pride wanted her to say no, but practicality, and the knowledge that Thabo and Kafilwi were depending on her, won out. Okay, she said quietly, but I'm paying you back. Deal. He drove her home, walked her to her door, even though his security was right there. I'm going to fix this, he promised. All of it. Then he kissed her forehead, soft and sweet, and full of promise. Whitney went inside and immediately called home, heard Kafilwi's excited chatter about her science project and Thabo's complaints about his math teacher. Talked to them until she felt steady again. She could do this. She could be patient. She could trust Ji-hoon to handle things. Maybe. The next morning, someone knocked on her door. Whitney opened it to find a woman in an expensive suit standing there, probably late 40s, perfectly styled, wearing enough jewelry to pay Whitney's rent for a year. Whitney O.C., the woman said. Yes. I'm Park Sun-hee, Ji-hoon's mother. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. We need to talk. Whitney stepped back instinctively, every warning bell in her head going off at once. Mrs. Park, she said carefully. Ji-hoon didn't mention you were coming. He doesn't know I'm here. Sun-hee walked past Whitney into the apartment without being invited, her sharp eyes taking in everything. The second-hand furniture, the small kitchen, the photos of Thabo and Kafilwi on the wall. My son has always been impulsive, emotional. It's a weakness his father and I have tried to correct. Whitney closed the door slowly. What do you want? To understand what you want. Sun-hee turned, and now her smile was gone completely. My son is engaged to be married. The wedding is in 4 months, and yet I'm told he's been spending his evenings with a waitress from… where was it? Lesotho? The way she said it, like Lesotho was something distasteful, made Whitney's hands curl into fists. Ji-hoon and I are friends, Whitney said evenly. Friends. Sun-hee laughed. My dear, I wasn't born yesterday. I know what friends means when a man looks at a woman the way my son looks at you. Then you know he's unhappy, with the engagement, with all of it. Happiness is a luxury for people who can afford it. Sun-hee opened her purse, pulled out a checkbook. You, Miss Osei, are a waitress who sends money home to siblings in Africa. I imagine happiness is also a luxury you can't quite afford. She wrote something, tore off the check, held it out. Whitney didn't take it, didn't even look at it. I'm not interested in your money, she said. Everyone is interested in money. Sun-hee set the check on the coffee table. That's $50,000. Enough to send your siblings to excellent schools for years. Enough to set yourself up somewhere far from Charlotte. Far from my son. Whitney's heart was pounding, but she kept her voice steady. And if I don't take it? Then things become difficult. Sun-hee's tone was almost sympathetic. You've already lost your job. Your work visa is dependent on employment, correct? Without a job, you'll be deported within months. Your siblings will lose the money you send. They'll have to leave school. Go back to wherever they were before you started helping. It wasn't a threat. It was a statement of fact, which somehow made it worse. You researched me, Whitney said. Of course I did. The moment I heard about you. Sun-hee picked up a photo of Kfilwi, studied it. Your sister is beautiful. 11 years old? That's such an important age for education. It would be a shame if she had to stop learning. White-hot anger flared in Whitney's chest. Don't you dare use my family to— I'm not using anything. I'm simply pointing out reality. Sun-hee set the photo down carefully. You seem like a smart girl, smart enough to know that this, whatever this is with Ji-hoon, it can't last. He's a park. You're not. The world doesn't work that way. Maybe it should. Perhaps. Sun-hee headed for the door, then paused. The check is yours, whether you take it now or later. Think about it. Think about your siblings. Think about what's actually best for Ji-hoon, which is fulfilling his duties to his family, not running around with— You can go now, Whitney interrupted. Her voice was shaking, but she met Sun-hee's eyes directly. And you can take your check with you. Sun-hee studied her for a long moment. You really care about him? Yes. Then prove it. Let him go. She left the check on the table and walked out, closing the door softly behind her. Whitney stood there for a full minute, just breathing. Then she grabbed her phone and called Ji-hoon. He answered immediately. Whitney, is everything okay? Your mother was just here. Silence. Then, what did she say? Whitney told him everything. The check, the threats about her visa, the implication that she was ruining his life. I'm coming over, Ji-hoon said immediately. No, I need to think. Whitney, please, her voice cracked. Just give me tonight. I'll call you tomorrow. She hung up before he could argue, then sank onto the couch and stared at the check. $50,000. More money than she'd ever seen in her life. Her phone buzzed. Thabo had sent another photo. Him and Kifi at the library, studying together. Working hard, he'd written. Want to make you proud. Whitney closed her eyes. She didn't sleep that night. Just sat there thinking about everything. About Ji-hoon's smile. About Hana's cruelty. About Sun-hee's cold certainty that Whitney wasn't good enough. About her siblings who were depending on her. By morning, she knew what she had to do. She called Ji-hoon at 7 a.m. I'm here, he said immediately. I'm right outside. I've been here since 3. Whitney looked out her window. Sure enough, his Mercedes was parked on the street. Ji-hoon in the driver's seat, looking exhausted. Come up, she said softly. He was at her door in under a minute. Whitney let him in, and the first thing he did was pull her into his arms. I'm so sorry, he said against her hair. My mother had no right. She's protecting you, protecting her family. Whitney pulled back to look at him. I understand that. It doesn't make it okay. No, but it makes it real. Whitney took a breath. Ji-hoon, I can't be the reason you lose everything. I can't be the reason your family tears itself apart. His hands tightened on her shoulders. Don't say what I think you're about to say. We need to stop this. Whatever this is. It hurt to say. Hurt worse than losing her job. Before someone gets hurt, worse than they already are. I'm already hurt, Ji-hoon said fiercely. Walking away from you would hurt more than anything my family could do. You say that now. I'll say it always. He cupped her face in his hands. Whitney, listen to me. I'm going to break the engagement. I'm going to tell my family that I'm done letting them control my life. But I need you to be patient with me. I need you to trust that I can do this the right way. And if you can't, if they force you to choose, then I choose you. Simple. Final. Every time I choose you. Whitney wanted to believe him, wanted it so badly it scared her. 2 months, she said finally. You said you needed 2 months. I'll give you that. But Ji-hoon, if things aren't different by then, if we're still hiding and sneaking around and waiting for permission from people who will never give it, we won't be. He pressed his forehead to hers. I promise. 2 months, and everything changes. They stood there like that for a long time, just holding each other. Then Ji-hoon kissed her forehead and pulled back. I have to go handle some things, he said, but I'll call you later. And Whitney, don't let my mother's words get in your head. You're not. You're everything. After he left, Whitney picked up Sun-hee's check and tore it into small pieces. She spent the next week job hunting, applied to 20 different places, restaurants, hotels, retail stores, got rejection after rejection, and she couldn't help wondering if the Park family influence was following her. On day 8, a small cafe in a neighborhood 40 minutes from her apartment called her in for an interview. The owner was an older black woman named Ruth, who'd moved from Uganda 20 years ago. You're from Lesotho, Ruth said, looking at Whitney's resume. Yes, ma'am. I'm from Kampala, originally. Ruth smiled. Long way from home for both of us, huh? Yes, ma'am. Stop calling me ma'am. Makes me feel old. Ruth handed back the resume. You're hired. When can you start? Whitney blinked. Just like that? Just like that? I know what it's like trying to make it in a new country, and I can tell you're a hard worker just by looking at you. Ruth stood up, extended her hand. Welcome to Ruth's place. The job paid less than the steakhouse, and the commute was brutal, but Whitney took it gratefully. Sent a text to Ji-hoon, found a job, starting Monday. His response was immediate. That's amazing. I'm proud of you. Then, dinner Friday. I want to celebrate. Whitney hesitated, then typed. Okay. They met at their usual Korean restaurant. Ji-hoon looked tired. Really tired. But he smiled when he saw her and immediately pulled out her chair. How's the new job? He asked once they'd ordered. Good. Different. Ruth, the owner, she's really kind. I'm glad. Ji-hoon reached across the table for her hand. I have some news, too. Whitney's heart jumped. What kind of news? I talked to my father, told him I want to end the engagement with Hana. What did he say? Ji-hoon's jaw tightened. That I'm being foolish. That I'm throwing away everything the family has built. That if I do this, I'm out. Completely out of the business. Out of the family. Everything. Ji-hoon. I told him that's fine. He squeezed her hand. I have my own money. Investments my grandfather left me that the family can't touch. I can start over. Build something new. Something clean. Whitney felt tears burning in her eyes. You'd really do that? Give up everything? It's not giving up anything that matters. He brought her hand to his lips, kissed her knuckles gently. You matter. Being able to look at myself in the mirror matters. Living a life that's actually mine matters. When? Whitney whispered. When are you telling Hana? This weekend. He took a breath. My father is giving me until Sunday to come to my senses. If I don't, if I still want to end things, then Sunday night, I tell Hana it's over. She's going to fight this. Let her. Ji-hoon's voice was hard. I'm done being afraid of what people think. They finished dinner, and Ji-hoon drove Whitney home the long way, through parts of Charlotte she'd never seen. Beautiful neighborhoods with old trees and historic houses. "I could buy one of these," Ji-hoon said suddenly. "With my grandfather's money. Something with enough space for a family, maybe. Eventually." He said it casually, but Whitney heard the hope underneath. "That sounds nice," she said softly. "Yeah?" He glanced at her. "You can picture it." "I can picture a lot of things," Whitney smiled. "If you're brave enough to actually do this." "I'm brave enough." He pulled up in front of her building, put the car in park. "Whitney, after Sunday, after I end things with Hana, I want to do this right. Take you out, properly. Let the whole world know that you're—" "That I'm what?" "Mine." He said it simply. "If you want to be." Whitney's heart was racing. "I want to be." They sat there grinning at each other like idiots until Ji-hoon's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression changed. "What is it?" Whitney asked. "My brother. He wants to meet." Ji-hoon frowned. "That's unusual. Maybe he wants to support you. Maybe." But Ji-hoon didn't sound convinced. "I should go. But I'll call you tomorrow." "Tomorrow," Whitney agreed. She watched him drive away, feeling lighter than she had in weeks. This was really happening. They were really doing this. Sunday came slowly. Whitney worked a double shift at Ruth's, trying to keep busy so she wouldn't obsess over what was happening with Ji-hoon. He'd texted her that morning, "Today's the day. Wish me luck." She'd responded, "You don't need luck. You just need courage. And you have that." By 8 p.m., Whitney was home, pacing her small apartment, checking her phone every 30 seconds. 9 p.m. Nothing. 10 p.m. Still nothing. At 11, her phone finally rang. Ji-hoon. "Hey," she answered immediately. "How did it go?" Silence on the other end. Then, "Can you come downstairs? I'm outside." Something in his voice made her stomach drop. "What happened?" "Just, please come down." Whitney grabbed her jacket and ran, found Ji-hoon leaning against his car, and even in the dim streetlight, she could see the exhaustion on his face, the defeat. "It didn't go well," she said. "That's one way to put it." He laughed, but it was hollow. "My father disowned me, officially. Had his lawyers draw up papers and everything. I'm no longer a park heir, no longer part of the family business, no longer anything." "Ji-hoon." "But I did it." He looked at her. "I ended things with Hana, told her the engagement was off, told my father I was done living his life." "Then why do you look so—" Whitney searched for the right word. "Devastated?" Ji-hoon supplied. "Because my brother was there, and he told me something I didn't know." "What?" "The family business. The parts that aren't legitimate. They're worse than I thought." Ji-hoon's voice was flat. "Human trafficking. Drugs. My brother showed me evidence. Told me that if I walk away now, if I'm not there to try to change things from the inside, it just gets worse." Whitney felt cold. "So what are you saying?" "I'm saying I have a choice." He met her eyes. "Walk away. Be with you. Start a new life. Or stay, try to clean things up from the inside, and lose you. That's not fair. That's not— You shouldn't have to choose between— But I do." Ji-hoon stepped closer. "My brother was very clear. If I stay, I have to marry Hana, have to play the part, have to be the perfect park heir, and I can't. Whitney, I can't do that and be with you. It wouldn't be fair to you." Whitney's eyes were burning. "What did you tell him?" "That I needed time to think." They stood, there in the cold, not touching, the space between them feeling like a canyon. "What do you want to do?" Whitney asked quietly. "I want to choose you." Ji-hoon's voice broke. "I want to be selfish and choose you and let someone else fix the family mess. But there are people suffering because of my family's business, people being hurt, and if I can stop that, even some of it, he closed his eyes. What kind of person am I if I walk away? Whitney understood then, really understood. This was the man she'd fallen for, the one who wanted to be better, do better, the one who couldn't ignore suffering even when it would be easier. She stepped forward, put her hand on his cheek. "Then you stay," she said softly. "You stay, and you fight, and you make things better. I'll lose you. Maybe," her throat was tight, "or maybe we find another way. There is no other way. My brother was clear. The family won't accept you. Ever. And if I'm going to have any power to change things, I can't fight them on everything." "So we wait," Whitney said. "We wait until you've done what you need to do, until things are different. That could be years, Whitney. Years. Then it's years." Ji-hoon pulled her into his arms, held her so tight she could barely breathe. "I don't want to let you go," he whispered. "Then don't. Not completely." Whitney pulled back to look at him. "We'll figure something out. Some way to, I don't know. Some way to stay connected until the timing is better." But even as she said it, she knew how impossible that sounded. Ji-hoon knew it too. She could see it in his eyes. "I'm so sorry," he said, "for all of this, for dragging you into my family's mess, for making you care about me when I can't." "Stop!" Whitney put her fingers over his lips. "Don't apologize for this. For us. It was real. It is real. And if it's real, it's worth fighting for." "How?" "I don't know yet." She smiled even though tears were running down her face. "But we're smart. We'll figure it out." Ji-hoon kissed her forehead, soft and lingering. "I love you," he said. "I know it's too soon, and we've only known each other a few months. But I love you, and I need you to know that before." "I love you too." Whitney said it fiercely. "And this isn't over. We're not over." But when Ji-hoon drove away that night, Whitney stood on the sidewalk and wondered if she was lying to both of them. The next few weeks were strange. Ji-hoon texted when he could, little messages about his day, about things he saw that made him think of her. Whitney responded, kept things light, pretended her heart wasn't breaking a little more every day. She threw herself into work. Ruth noticed. "Boy trouble?" Ruth asked one day during Whitney's break. "Is it that obvious?" "Honey, you've been stress cleaning the espresso machine for 20 minutes. It's either boy trouble or you're avoiding something else." Ruth sat down across from her. "Want to talk about it?" Whitney found herself telling the whole story. Ji-hoon, the engagement, his family, the impossible choice. "So what are you going to do?" Ruth asked when she finished. "I don't know. Wait, I guess. Hope things change. And if they don't?" Whitney didn't have an answer for that. At home, she got a video call from Thabo and Kefi. They were excited, talking over each other about school and friends and a field trip coming up. "You look sad, Nally," Kefi said, using her childhood nickname. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, little one. Just tired." "You work too hard," Thabo said, suddenly sounding much older than 16. "Maybe you should come home for a visit." "Maybe," Whitney smiled. "But then, who would send you money for your fancy school supplies?" "We'd manage," Thabo said seriously. "We don't want you to be sad." After they hung up, Whitney sat there thinking. She'd left Lesotho to give them a better life. But what kind of life was she building for herself? Working doubles, waiting for a man who might never be free to choose her, too scared to move forward or backward. Her phone buzzed. "Ji-hoon. Miss you." She typed back. "Miss you too," then deleted it. Typed. "We need to talk." Deleted that too. Finally settled on. "Can we meet?" "Tomorrow?" "Of course." "Same place?" "Same place." The Korean restaurant felt different this time, heavier somehow. Ji-hoon was already there when Whitney arrived, and he stood up immediately, like he'd been watching for her. "Hey," he said softly. "Hey." They ordered tea, but no food. Just sat there, holding warm cups, and not quite looking at each other. "I can't do this anymore," Whitney said finally. Ji-hoon's cup rattled against the table. "Whitney, not us. I don't mean us." She forced herself to meet his eyes. "I mean this. This waiting. This hoping things will magically get better. This pretending that stolen moments and secret texts are enough." "They're not enough for me either," Ji-hoon said quietly. "But they're all we have right now." "No," Whitney shook her head. "No, we have a choice. We can keep doing this. Keep hurting. Keep waiting for permission from people who will never give it. Or we can what? We can be brave." She reached across the table, took his hand. Really brave. Not just talking about changing things, actually doing it. "How?" Ji-hoon's voice was desperate. "My family won't." "Then maybe you do both." Whitney squeezed his fingers. "You stay in the family business. You work to change things from inside. But you don't marry Hana. You tell your family that's the one line you won't cross. They'll cut me off completely. You said you have your grandfather's money, investments they can't touch. It's not enough to what? To live in a mansion? To have luxury cars?" Whitney leaned forward. "Ji-hoon, I grew up in a house with a dirt floor. My grandmother raised 3 kids on what she made selling vegetables at the market. Enough is relative." He stared at her. "You're saying I should choose losing everything." "I'm saying choose what actually matters," she smiled. "Choose yourself. Choose us. Choose the life you actually want, instead of the one they're forcing on you. It's not that simple." "It is exactly that simple." Whitney pulled her hand back. "I'm not saying it's easy, but it is simple. Either you want this, want us, enough to fight for it, or you don't." Ji-hoon stood up abruptly, started pacing. "You make it sound like I'm not fighting. You're negotiating. You're compromising. You're trying to make everyone happy." Whitney stood too. "But some things aren't negotiable, Ji-hoon. You can't compromise on who you love. You can't meet in the middle on your own happiness. So what would you have me do? Tell my family to go to hell? Walk away from any chance of changing things?" "Yes," Whitney said it simply. "If that's what it takes." They stared at each other, the restaurant silent around them. "I love you," Ji-hoon said finally. "But I can't just abandon people who need help, people suffering because of my family." "I'm not asking you to abandon anyone. I'm asking you to save yourself first. You can't help anyone if you're drowning." "And if I choose you? If I walk away from all of it?" His voice dropped. "What if I resent you for it later? What if I look at you in 5 years and think about all the people I could have helped if I'd stayed?" The question hit like a physical blow. "Then I guess we find out if love is enough," Whitney said quietly. They left the restaurant in silence. Ji-hoon drove her home, and they sat in the car outside her building, not talking. "I need time," Ji-hoon said finally. "Not months, just few days. To think, to figure out what the right choice is." "Okay. Whitney," he turned to her. "No matter what I decide, know that you changed my life. You made me want to be better. Want to be brave. You were always brave," she said. "You just forgot for a while." He kissed her forehead one more time, lingering like he was trying to memorize the moment. Then, Whitney got out of the car and went inside without looking back. 3 days later, Whitney's doorbell rang at 6 in the morning. She stumbled to the door half asleep, expecting maybe a delivery, or Ruth with some emergency at the cafe. Instead, she found a woman she'd never seen before. Young, maybe mid-20s, designer clothes, perfect makeup despite the early hour. "Whitney O.C.?" the woman asked. "Yes." "I'm Hana's cousin," Min-seo. She didn't wait for an invitation, just walked right in. We need to talk about Ji-hoon. Whitney's stomach sank, but she closed the door and crossed her arms. Does Hana know you're here? Hana doesn't know anything except what people tell her. Min-seo sat down on the couch like she owned the place. And right now, she thinks Ji-hoon is just going through a phase, that he'll come back to her eventually. What do you think? I think my cousin is a nightmare, Min-seo said it flatly. I've known her my whole life, and she's always been cruel, mean, the kind of person who hurts people because she can. Whitney blinked, surprised. Then why are you here? Because as much as I can't stand Hana, I also can't stand watching Ji-hoon destroy his life over some… What did his mother call you? A waitress from Lesotho? And there it was, the real reason for this visit. Get out, Whitney said quietly. Wait, Min-seo held up her hands. That came out wrong. I'm not here to insult you. I'm here to warn you. About what? About what happens when you mess with the Park family. Min-seo leaned forward. Do you know what Hana did to the last woman who got too close to Ji-hoon? Got her fired, got her apartment lease terminated, got her student visa revoked, had her deported back to the Philippines within 6 weeks. Whitney felt cold. Ji-hoon never mentioned, because he doesn't know. Hana's very good at covering her tracks. Min-seo pulled out her phone, showed Whitney a photo. A young woman, pretty, smiling. This is Rena. She made the mistake of falling for Ji-hoon 3 years ago. She's back in Manila now, working in a factory, because Hana made sure she could never work in her field again. Why are you telling me this? Because unlike Rena, you have a chance. Min-seo put her phone away. Rena didn't see it coming. But you do. You can leave now, before Hana really starts destroying your life, before she goes after your siblings. She wouldn't. She would. She has. Min-seo stood up. Look, I'm not saying this to be cruel. I'm saying this because maybe you actually love him. And if you do, the kindest thing you can do is leave before he has to watch Hana destroy you. After Min-seo left, Whitney sat there shaking, pulled out her phone and called Ji-hoon immediately. Whitney? He answered on the first ring. What's wrong? Who's Rena? Silence. Then, how do you know about Rena? Hana's cousin just left my apartment. Told me what happened to her. Ji-hoon cursed in Korean. I'll call you back. He hung up before she could respond. Whitney paced her apartment, checking her phone every 30 seconds. 20 minutes later, it rang. I'm so sorry, Ji-hoon said immediately. I should have told you about Rena. I should have warned you what Hana was capable of. So it's true. She destroyed that woman's life. Yes, he sounded tired. Rena she was someone I cared about. Before the engagement was officially announced. We were just starting to… And then Hana found out. Everything Min-seo told you is true. Hana made sure Rena lost everything. And you let that happen? I didn't know until it was too late. Ji-hoon's voice rose. By the time I found out what Hana had done, Rena was already gone. I tried to help her, sent money, tried to get her visa reinstated, but she wouldn't take it. Said she never wanted to hear from me again. Whitney sank onto the couch. I can't compete with that kind of power. You're not competing. I'm a waitress from Lesotho with 2 siblings depending on me. Whitney interrupted. And Hana is a woman with unlimited resources and no conscience. How does this end well for me, Ji-hoon? Because this time I'm ready for her. His voice was firm. This time I'm not going to let her hurt you. How? You couldn't stop her with Rena? Because I didn't know what she was doing. But now I do. Now I'm watching. He took a breath. Whitney, I've made my decision. Her heart stopped. What decision? I'm ending the engagement. Officially. Publicly. I'm telling my family they can keep their business and their expectations and their control. I'm choosing you." Whitney couldn't breathe. "Ji-hoon, I know what I'm giving up. I know what it costs. But I also know that I can't live my life afraid of what Hana might do. I can't let fear make my choices." His voice softened. "You asked me to be brave, so I'm being brave." "When?" Whitney whispered. "Tonight. There's a family dinner. The whole clan will be there. I'm going to announce it then." "Are you sure? Are you really?" "I've never been more sure of anything." He paused. "Will you wait for me?" "After I do this, things are going to be messy for a while. My family will fight back. Hana will lose her mind. But eventually, it'll settle. And when it does, I'll be here," Whitney said. "I'll wait." After they hung up, Whitney tried to work, but she couldn't focus. Ruth sent her home early. "Whatever's happening, honey, you need to deal with it," Ruth said kindly. "Can't serve coffee when your hands are shaking like that." Whitney went home and called her siblings. Needed to hear their voices. Needed to remember why she'd come to America in the first place. "Nally," Kefi's voice was bright. "Guess what? I got an A on my science test." "That's wonderful, little one." "And Thabo has a girlfriend," Kefi added, giggling. "I do not." Thabo's voice came from the background. "She's just a friend. A friend you walk home every day." Listening to them bicker made Whitney smile, made her remember that some things were still simple and good and pure. "I love you both so much," she said, when they finally stopped arguing. "Love you too, Nally," they said in unison. "Are you okay?" Thabo asked, suddenly serious. "You sound weird." "I'm fine. Just a big day today." "Good big or bad big?" "Don't know yet." Whitney checked the time. 6 p.m. Ji-hoon's family dinner would start in an hour. "But I'll call you tomorrow and tell you about it." After they hung up, Whitney tried to watch TV but couldn't follow the plot. Tried to read but couldn't focus on the words. Just sat there watching the clock, imagining what was happening across the city. 7 p.m. Ji-hoon would be arriving at his family's estate. 7:30, dinner would be starting. 8 p.m., he'd be making his announcement. At 8:15, her phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello." "Is this Whitney Osei?" A man's voice, formal, cold. "Yes, who is this?" "My name is Park Jae-sung. I'm Ji-hoon's older brother." A pause. "My brother has been in an accident." The world tilted. "What?" Whitney's voice didn't sound like hers. "What kind of accident?" "A car accident. He's at Charlotte Memorial Hospital." Jae-sung's tone was carefully neutral. "The doctors say he's stable, but you should come." "I'm coming. I'm coming right now." Whitney was already grabbing her jacket, her keys. "Is he okay? Is he? Just come." Jae-sung hung up. Whitney ran. Down the stairs, out to the street, waved down a taxi because it would be faster than waiting for the bus. Gave the driver the hospital name and told him to hurry. Her mind was racing. An accident. What kind of accident? Had he crashed on the way to dinner? On the way back? Was he really okay? The hospital was chaos. Emergency room packed with people. Whitney pushed her way to the front desk. "Park Ji-hoon," she said breathlessly. "He was brought in. Car accident." The nurse checked her computer. "Are you family?" "I'm his—" Whitney stopped. What was she? Not his fiancée, not his wife, not anything official. "I'm his girlfriend. I'm sorry, family only. Please." Whitney's eyes were burning. "Please, I just need to know if he's okay." "Whitney." She turned. Jae-sung stood there, tall and cold-looking in an expensive suit. He looked like Ji-hoon but harder somehow. Sharper edges. "Come with me," he said. He led her through corridors and up an elevator to a private floor. Outside a room, Sun-hee stood with several other people Whitney didn't recognize. They all stared when Whitney approached. "Where is he?" Whitney asked. "Can I see him?" "He's sleeping," Sun-hee said. Her voice was ice. "The doctors gave him something for the pain." "What happened?" Jae-sung and Sun-hee exchanged a look. "He was on his way to dinner," Jae-sung said finally. "Someone ran a red light. Hit him. Broadside. Is he... What are his injuries? Broken ribs, concussion, some internal bruising." Sun-hee's expression didn't change. "He'll recover. Probably." That probably sent ice through Whitney's veins. "I want to see him." "That's not," Sun-hee started. "Let her see him," Jae-sung interrupted. 5 minutes. Sun-hee looked like she wanted to argue, but she stepped aside. Whitney pushed open the door to Ji-hoon's room. He looked so small in the hospital bed. Bruises darkening his face, bandages wrapped around his ribs, machines beeping softly. But he was breathing. He was alive. Whitney pulled a chair close to the bed, took his hand carefully. "Hey," she whispered. "I'm here. I'm right here." His eyes fluttered open, unfocused at first, then finding her face. "Whitney." His voice was rough. "You came." "Of course I came." She squeezed his hand gently. "What happened?" Don't remember much." He winced. "Was driving to dinner, then headlights, then here. The doctors say you'll be okay." "Yeah." He closed his eyes again. Did I tell them about the engagement?" "I don't think so. You were on your way when the accident happened." "Damn." A weak laugh that turned into a cough. "Universe really didn't want me to do it, huh?" "Don't." Whitney's voice shook. "Don't make jokes. You could have died." "But I didn't." His eyes opened again, focused on her. "I'm still here. We're still doing this. Soon as I'm out of here, you need to rest. Focus on getting better. Promise you'll wait. Promise you won't let them scare you off. I promise." Whitney kissed his forehead softly. "Rest now." His eyes closed, and within seconds, he was asleep again. Whitney sat there holding his hand until a nurse came in. "I'm sorry, miss, but visiting hours are over. Family only can stay." Whitney wanted to argue, wanted to claim she was family, but she just nodded and stood up. Outside, Sun-hee was waiting. "We need to talk," the older woman said. "I'm tired." "Now." They went to a small waiting room. Sun-hee closed the door behind them. "I know what you're thinking," Sun-hee said. "That this was Hana's doing. That she somehow arranged this accident. Did she?" "No." Sun-hee's voice was firm. "As much as Hana is capable of cruelty, she's not capable of attempted murder. This was an accident. A terrible, random accident." How convenient. Whitney couldn't keep the bitterness out of her voice. Right before Ji-hoon was going to end the engagement. Convenient for whom? My son is in a hospital bed. Sun-hee's mask cracked slightly. "You think I want that? You think any mother wants to see her child hurt?" "I think you'd rather see him hurt than see him with me." Sun-hee was quiet for a long moment. Then she sat down, suddenly looking older. "You're right," she said quietly. "I would rather he marry Hana and be safe than choose you and face my husband's wrath. That makes me a terrible person, I know." Whitney sat down too, surprised by the admission. "But," Sun-hee continued, "I'm also smart enough to see that my son loves you, really loves you, and that means you have a choice to make." "What choice?" "Walk away now, while he's vulnerable. Make it clean. Tell him you can't do this anymore and disappear." Sun-hee met her eyes. "Or stay and fight for him, and accept that fighting for a park means becoming a target. Some choice. It's the only choice I can give you." Sun-hee stood up. "My husband arrives tomorrow. Once he's here, things will escalate. He won't be as subtle as I was with my checkbook. So decide tonight. Stay or go. She left Whitney sitting there alone. Whitney took a taxi home, her mind spinning. Sun Hee's words kept echoing. Decide tonight. Stay or go. At home, she called Ruth. Honey? Ruth answered immediately. What's wrong? You sound awful. Whitney told her everything. The accident. Sun Hee's ultimatum. The impossible choice. So what do you want to do? Ruth asked, when she finished. I don't know. I love him, but I'm scared. His family is... They're powerful, Ruth, and cruel, and I don't know if love is enough to fight that. Love's never enough by itself, Ruth said gently. Love needs courage, needs stubbornness, needs faith that things can get better. Do you think they can get better? I think that's up to you and Ji-hoon. Ruth paused. But I'll tell you what I told my daughter when she was trying to decide whether to marry a man her family hated. I said, are you brave enough to choose your own happiness, even if it means losing everything else? What did she choose? She chose him. They've been married 20 years now. My family still doesn't talk to me because I supported her. Ruth laughed softly. But I'd make the same choice again, because she's happy, really happy, and that's worth everything. After they hung up, Whitney sat in the dark, thinking. She thought about Ji-hoon's smile, about the way he really listened when she talked, about how he wanted to be better, do better. She thought about Rena, deported and destroyed. She thought about her siblings, depending on her. She thought about her grandmother's voice. Be smart, Whitney. At 3 a.m., she made her decision. The next morning, Whitney went back to the hospital. Sun Hee was in the hallway, looking exhausted. I need to see him, Whitney said. My husband will be here in an hour. Then I need to see him now. Something in Whitney's voice made Sun Hee step aside. Ji-hoon was awake this time, sitting up slightly, looking a little better. Whitney. He smiled, then winced. Smiling hurts. Then don't smile. She sat down next to his bed. How are you feeling? Like I got hit by a car. He reached for her hand. But better now that you're here. Ji-hoon, we need to talk. His smile faded. That sounds ominous. Your mother gave me an ultimatum last night. Stay and fight or leave while it's still clean. What did you tell her? Nothing yet. I wanted to talk to you first. Whitney took a breath. If I stay, if we do this, things are going to get worse before they get better. Your father is coming. Hana will fight back. Your family will do everything they can to break us up. I know. And I need to know. Really know. That you're ready for that. That you won't wake up in 6 months or a year and regret choosing me over them. Ji-hoon pulled her closer, despite the obvious pain it caused. Listen to me, he said intensely. I have spent my entire life being who other people wanted me to be, doing what they expected, playing the part. And I was empty, Whitney, completely empty, until I met you. His hand cupped her face. You made me want to be brave, he continued, want to choose my own life, want to fight for something that actually matters. So yes, I'm ready. I'm ready to fight my father and Hana and anyone else who tries to keep us apart. Even if it costs you everything. You are everything. He said it, simply. Everything else is just noise. Whitney kissed his forehead gently. Okay, she whispered. Then I'm staying. We're fighting. Together? Together. They sat there holding hands until voices in the hallway made them both tense. A man's voice, deep, commanding, angry. That's my father, Ji-hoon said quietly. You should probably go. No. Whitney stood up but didn't let go of his hand. If we're doing this, we're doing it now. Together. The door opened. Park Dong-min was shorter than Whitney expected, but he filled the room anyway. Power radiated from him like heat. His eyes swept over Whitney, dismissive and cold. "So you're the waitress?" he said in accented English. "I'm Whitney," she replied evenly. "You're the reason my son nearly died." "That's not fair," Ji-hoon started. "Fair?" Dong-min's voice rose. "You were on your way to throw away everything our family built because of her. You were distracted, not paying attention, and you nearly killed yourself. How is that not her fault?" "It was an accident," Whitney said. "A random accident." "Nothing is random." Dong-min stepped closer. "Everything has consequences, and the consequence of my son's infatuation with you is him lying in a hospital bed. Father, that's enough." "No." Dong-min cut Ji-hoon off. "What's enough is this foolishness. You will marry Hana as planned. You will take your place in the family. And you—" He turned to Whitney. "You will leave Charlotte tonight." "I'm not leaving," Whitney said. The room went dead silent. "What did you say?" Dong-min's voice was dangerously quiet. "I said I'm not leaving." Whitney's heart was pounding, but she kept her voice steady. "I love your son. He loves me. And you can't change that by ordering me around." "I can do much more than order." Dong-min pulled out his phone. "One call, and your work visa is revoked. Another call, and the money you send to Lesotho stops reaching your siblings. A third call, and you'll find yourself on a plane home by morning." "Do it." Whitney said it before she could lose her courage. "Make your calls, ruin my life. But it won't change how Ji-hoon feels. It'll just prove that you're exactly the kind of man he doesn't want to become." Dong-min's eyes narrowed. "You think you're brave, but you're just foolish." "Maybe," Whitney squeezed Ji-hoon's hand. "But I'd rather be foolish and in love than powerful and empty." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Ji-hoon's voice, weak but clear. "She's right, Father. You can threaten her. Threaten me. But you can't make me stop loving her. And you can't make me marry Hana." "Then you leave me no choice." Dong-min headed for the door. "You're cut off. Completely. No family money. No business connections. No park protection." "Fine." Dong-min stopped, turned back. "You think you can survive without the family?" "I guess we'll find out." Ji-hoon's voice was getting stronger. "But I'd rather struggle with Whitney than live in luxury without her." Dong-min looked at his son for a long moment. Something flickered in his eyes. Maybe respect, maybe disappointment, maybe both. "You're making a mistake," he said finally. "It's my mistake to make." After Dong-min left, Whitney sank into the chair, shaking. "That was," she started. "Terrifying," Ji-hoon supplied. "Yeah. Are you okay? Did I just make everything worse?" "You were perfect." He pulled her close. "You stood up to my father. Do you know how rare that is?" "I think I'm gonna throw up." Ji-hoon laughed, then groaned. "Don't make me laugh. Hurts too much." Sun-hee came in a few minutes later. "My husband is leaving," she said quietly. "He's going back to the estate to make arrangements, to follow through on his threats." "Let him," Ji-hoon said. Sun-hee looked at Whitney. "You really love him? Enough to lose everything?" "Yes." "Then you're braver than I ever was." Sun-hee's voice was soft. "I chose duty over love. Married Dong-min because our families wanted it. And I've regretted it every day since." She pulled an envelope from her purse, handed it to Whitney. "What is this?" Whitney asked. "Information. Bank accounts Dong-min doesn't know about. Properties in my name. Resources you'll need if you're really going to fight him." Sun-hee smiled sadly. "I can't go against my husband publicly, but I can help you secretly." "Why?" Ji-hoon asked. "Why help us?" "Because I want at least one of my sons to be happy." She touched his cheek gently. "Even if it means defying your father." After Sun-hee left, Whitney opened the envelope. Inside were bank statements, property deeds, and a handwritten note. Be brave. Be smart. Be happy. Your mother just gave us a fortune, Whitney said, staring at the numbers. My mother just gave us a chance, Ji-hoon corrected. He was released from the hospital 3 days later. Whitney took time off work to help him settle into a small apartment he rented, using Sun-hee's resources. Nothing fancy, but it was theirs. The first night there, they sat on the floor eating takeout because the furniture hadn't arrived yet. This is nice, Ji-hoon said, looking around the bare apartment. It's empty. It's ours, he kissed her cheek. That makes it perfect. But perfect didn't last long. The threat started small. First, Whitney's tires were slashed. Then someone broke into her apartment while she was at work. Didn't steal anything, just moved things around. A warning. Ji-hoon wanted to call the police. And tell them what? Whitney asked. That your ex-fiancée is probably harassing me, but we have no proof. I know it's Hana. Knowing and proving are different things. The harassment escalated. Strange calls in the middle of the night. Packages left at her door containing photos of her walking to work, eating lunch, visiting Ji-hoon. Someone was following her, and they wanted her to know it. Ruth noticed Whitney constantly looking over her shoulder. This boyfriend of yours, Ruth said one day, is he worth all this stress? Yes. Whitney didn't even hesitate. He is. Then you need to fight back. Can't live your life scared. But fighting back was easier said than done. Hana was smart, careful. Nothing could be traced back to her directly. Until the night someone tried to run Whitney down in a parking lot. She was leaving work late, walking to the bus stop, when a black SUV came screaming around the corner. Whitney dove behind a parked car just in time, felt the wind as the SUV passed inches away. It didn't stop, just kept going. Whitney sat on the pavement shaking until Ruth found her. That's it, Ruth said firmly. You're calling the police. They did. The police took a report, promised to investigate, but Whitney could see in their eyes that they didn't really believe it was intentional. Just a reckless driver. Just bad luck. Ji-hoon lost his mind when she told him. That's attempted murder, he said, pacing his apartment. Hana has gone too far. We still can't prove it was her. I don't care about proof. His voice was hard. I'm going to talk to her. End this. Ji-hoon, no, she could have killed you, Whitney. He turned to face her. I can't let that go. He went to confront Hana the next day, came back looking shaken. What happened? Whitney asked. She denied everything. Said she had no idea what I was talking about. Ji-hoon sank onto the couch. But there was this look in her eyes, this satisfaction. She knows we can't prove anything, and she's enjoying it. So what do we do? I don't know. He pulled Whitney close. But I'm not letting you out of my sight. You're staying here until we figure this out. I can't just move in. Why not? We're together. We love each other. He kissed her forehead. And I need to know you're safe. So Whitney moved in, brought her few belongings, set up her photos of Thabo and Kefi on the dresser. It was fast, maybe too fast, but it also felt right. Ruth gave her more flexible hours so she could work around Ji-hoon's schedule, never leaving the apartment alone. It was suffocating sometimes, always being careful, always watching. But it was better than being scared every second. 2 weeks into the new arrangement, Min-seo showed up at the apartment. I need to talk to you, she said when Whitney opened the door. Both of you. Ji-hoon came out of the bedroom, immediately tense. What do you want? To help. Min-seo looked nervous. I know what Hana's been doing. The harassment, the car, all of it. Can you prove it? Whitney asked. No. But I can tell you what's coming next. Min-seo came inside, closed the door. Hana's planning something big. She's been meeting with your father, Ji-hoon. They're working together now. My father hates Hana. He hates losing more. Minseo pulled out her phone, showed them photos. Dongmin and Hana at a restaurant, at an office building, at the Park Estate. Whatever they're planning, it's serious. Why are you helping us? Whitney asked. What's in it for you? I told you, I can't stand Hana, and I'm tired of watching her destroy people. Minseo looked at Ji-hoon. You were always decent to me, even when we were kids, and Hana was cruel. So I figure, maybe I owe you. Ji-hoon and Whitney exchanged glances. What do you know? Ji-hoon asked finally. Not much, just that they're targeting Whitney's siblings. Whitney's blood went cold. What? They've been looking into ways to disrupt the money you send. Maybe freeze the accounts. Maybe something worse. Minseo looked genuinely sorry. I thought you should know. After Minseo left, Whitney immediately called home. Thabo answered, sounding worried. Nally, something weird happened today, he said. These men came to the house asking about you. About where you work, who sends us money. What did you tell them? Nothing. I told them to leave. Thabo hesitated. Are you in trouble? No, I'm fine. But Thabo, listen to me carefully. If anyone else comes asking questions, you call me immediately. Don't talk to them. Don't tell them anything. You're scaring me. I know, I'm sorry. But I need you to be smart right now. For Kifi. Can you do that? Yeah, I can. After she hung up, Ji-hoon wrapped his arms around her. We'll protect them, he said. I promise. How? Your family has more resources than we do, more power. But we have something they don't. He pulled back to look at her. We have people who actually care about us. Over the next week, they built their own network. Ruth helped. Minseo fed them information. Sun Hee sent money and resources secretly. Even some of Ji-hoon's old friends from before the family business consumed everything. People he'd grown up with, gone to school with, reached out to help. Turns out I wasn't as alone as I thought, Ji-hoon said one night, looking at messages of support on his phone. People love you, Whitney said softly. The real you, not the park air. Because of you. He kissed her forehead. You showed me it was okay to be myself. But Dongmin and Hana weren't giving up. The attack came from an unexpected direction. Whitney was at work when Immigration and Customs Enforcement showed up at Ruth's cafe. Whitney Osei, the officer asked. Yes? We need you to come with us. There are some issues with your work visa. Her stomach dropped. What issues? You can discuss that at the office. Ruth stepped forward. She has a right to know what she's being accused of. Ma'am, please step back. They took Whitney to their offices, made her sit in a small room for 2 hours before anyone would talk to her. When an officer finally came in, he had a file thick with papers. Miss Osei, it's come to our attention that there are irregularities in your visa application, he said. Falsified employment documents, incorrect information about your educational background. That's not true. I didn't falsify anything. We have evidence that suggests otherwise. He showed her copies of her original application. Someone had altered them, changed dates and details, made it look like she'd lied. I didn't do this, Whitney said desperately. Someone else. Someone must have changed these. Do you have proof of that? She didn't. Of course she didn't. They held her for 6 hours, finally released her with a warning that she'd be hearing from them about a deportation hearing. Ji-hoon was waiting outside, looking frantic. Are you okay? What happened? Whitney told him everything. He listened, his jaw getting tighter with every word. This was my father, he said when she finished. He has connections in immigration. This is exactly the kind of thing he'd do. Can we fight it? We can try, but immigration cases are... He trailed off, looking helpless. We need a good lawyer. Really good. Sun Hee provided one, an immigration specialist who'd won cases against much worse odds, but even she looked worried after reviewing Whitney's. File. Someone went to a lot of trouble to make this look real, the lawyer said. These altered documents. They're good. Very good. Can you prove they're altered? Ji-hoon asked. Maybe. But it'll take time, and time is something we don't have much of. She looked at Whitney. Your hearing is in 3 weeks. If we lose, you'll be deported immediately. 3 weeks. Whitney felt like she couldn't breathe. That night, lying in bed next to Ji-hoon, she finally let herself cry. Really cry. All the fear and stress and helplessness she'd been holding in came pouring out. I can't lose you, Ji-hoon said against her hair. I won't lose you. You might not have a choice. There's always a choice. He pulled back, looked at her seriously. Marry me. Whitney's breath caught. What? Marry me. If we're married, they can't deport you. Your status changes immediately. Ji-hoon, we can't get married just to fix my visa. That's not why I'm asking. He sat up, pulled her up too. I'm asking because I love you. Because I want to spend my life with you. The visa thing is just a bonus. We've known each other 4 months. I don't care if it's been 4 days. I know you're who I want. His hands cupped her face. Marry me, Whitney. Not because we have to. Because we want to. Your family will never accept it. I don't need them to accept it. I just need you to say yes. Whitney looked at him. This man who'd given up everything for her, who'd stood up to his family, who'd chosen her over power and wealth and everything he'd known. Yes, she whispered. They got married 3 days later. Small ceremony at a courthouse. Just them and Ruth and Min Seo as witnesses. No fancy dress. No big reception. Just 2 people promising to love each other through whatever came next. When the clerk pronounced them married, Ji-hoon kissed Whitney's hand, then her forehead, soft and reverent. My wife, he said, smiling. My husband. Whitney grinned. That sounds weird. Good. Weird. The best weird. They went to immigration the next day with the marriage certificate. The officer who'd questioned Whitney looked annoyed. This doesn't change the allegations of fraud, he said. But it does change her status, their lawyer countered. She's now married to a U.S. citizen. That supersedes the work visa concerns. We'll still need to investigate. Investigate all you want. But you can't deport her while her status adjustment is being processed. The lawyer smiled, which could take years. The officer glared but couldn't argue. Outside, Whitney hugged their lawyer. Thank you. Thank you so much. Don't thank me yet. They're not giving up. Dong-min will find another way. She was right. 2 days after the wedding, someone leaked photos to the media. Ji-hoon and Whitney together. Headlines screaming about the Park heir's secret marriage to a waitress. Speculation about gold digging. Accusations of visa fraud. Ji-hoon's phone exploded with calls from reporters. So did Whitney's. Ruth had to hire security for the cafe because journalists kept showing up. This is what they wanted, Ji-hoon said, looking at the headlines. To make us look bad. Make it seem like you married me for money. Didn't I, though? Whitney tried to joke. I mean, you're very rich. I'm not rich anymore, remember? Cut off. But he smiled. All you got was my incredible personality and devastating good looks. Despite everything, Whitney laughed. But the media attention brought other problems. Whitney's apartment building made her leave because of the reporters. Her old restaurant called to yell at her for bringing them bad press. Even Ruth started getting pressure from her landlord about all the commotion. Maybe we should leave Charlotte, Whitney said one night. Start over somewhere else. Run away? Ji-hoon shook his head. No. If we run, they win. We stay, and we fight. I'm tired of fighting. I know. He pulled her close. But we're winning, Whitney. They're getting desperate. That's why they're throwing everything at us. Because they know they're losing control. It doesn't feel like winning. It will. Trust me. The next attack was more personal. Someone sent photos to Thabo and Kefi, pictures of Whitney and Ji-hoon together, articles about the marriage, messages saying their sister had sold herself to a rich man, abandoned her culture, forgotten where she came from. Kefi called crying. "Is it true?" she asked. "Did you marry him for money?" "No, baby. No, I married him because I love him. But the articles say—" "The articles are lying." Whitney's voice was firm. "I love Ji-hoon. He loves me. That's the only truth that matters. When can we meet him?" Thabo's voice came on. "Your husband. When do we meet him?" "Soon," Whitney promised. "As soon as we can arrange it." After she hung up, Ji-hoon was already on his laptop. "What are you doing?" Whitney asked. "Booking flights to Lesotho." He looked up. "You said—" "Soon. I'm making it happen. Ji-hoon, we can afford this. Your siblings need to meet me, need to see that we're real." They flew out 2 weeks later. Ji-hoon's first time in Africa, first time seeing where Whitney came from. Thabo and Kefi were waiting at the airport in Maseru. Kefi ran straight to Whitney, nearly knocking her over. "I missed you so much," Kefi said. "Missed you too, little one." Whitney pulled back, gestured to Ji-hoon. "This is Ji-hoon, my husband." Thabo stepped forward, sizing Ji-hoon up. "You better be good to my sister." "I promise I am," Ji-hoon said seriously. "Prove it." Ji-hoon pulled out his phone, showed Thabo photos. Him and Whitney laughing, cooking together, sleeping on the couch. Everyday moments that showed real love. "Okay," Thabo said finally. "You pass." They stayed in Lesotho for a week. Ji-hoon fell in love with the country, the mountains, the people, the food. He learned to eat pap properly, played soccer with Thabo and his friends, helped Kefi with her homework. "I can see why you miss it," he said one night, looking at the stars from Whitney's grandmother's old house. "It's beautiful here." "It's home." Whitney leaned against him. "But Charlotte is home now too, because you're there." On their last night, they visited Whitney's grandmother's grave. Ji-hoon placed flowers, bowed respectfully. "I promise to take care of her," he said quietly, "to love her the way she deserves." Back in Charlotte, things had somehow gotten worse. Dong-min had filed a lawsuit claiming Ji-hoon had stolen family assets. Hana was giving interviews painting Whitney as a manipulative gold digger. "We need to fight back," Minseo said during one of their strategy meetings. "Stop playing defense." "How?" Whitney asked. "Go public. Tell your story. Let people see the real you, the real relationship." "I don't want to be famous." "You're already famous." Minseo showed her trending topics, their names everywhere. "Might as well control the narrative." They did an interview. Just one, with a reporter Ruth trusted. Told the whole story. How they met. How they fell in love. What they'd overcome. "Do you regret it?" the reporter asked Whitney. "Marrying into this family?" "I didn't marry into a family. I married a man." Whitney looked at Ji-hoon. "A man who chose love over duty, who chose happiness over power. I could never regret that." The interview went viral. Suddenly, public opinion started shifting. People saw them as romantic instead of scandalous, brave instead of foolish. Dong-min's lawsuit started falling apart when Sun-hee provided evidence that Ji-hoon hadn't stolen anything. She'd given him access to accounts that were legally his through his grandfather. Hana's interviews became desperate, angry. She accused Whitney of witchcraft, of brainwashing Ji-hoon. People started seeing her as unhinged. "We're winning," Minseo said, showing them polling data. "Public opinion is on your side." But the real victory came from an unexpected place. Jae-sung, Ji-hoon's brother, showed up at their apartment one morning. "Can I come in?" he asked. Ji-hoon looked suspicious, but let him in. Jae-sung sat down, looking uncomfortable. I need to tell you something, he said. About father. About the business. What about it? He's been arrested. Federal investigation. Money laundering. Racketeering. Everything. Ji-hoon stared. What? I've been working with the FBI for 2 years. Gave them everything they needed. Jae-sung looked at his brother. I couldn't let it continue. The trafficking, the violence, all of it. You turned in our father? Our father turned himself in the moment he chose power over family. Jae-sung's voice was firm. I'm just making sure he faces consequences. What happens now? Whitney asked quietly. Father will probably go to prison. The business will be dismantled. The family. What's left of it? We'll have to rebuild. Jae-sung looked at Ji-hoon. Want you to help me. Help me build something better. Something legitimate. Ji-hoon was quiet for a long time. I'll think about it, he said finally. After Jae-sung left, Ji-hoon and Whitney sat together in silence. It's over, Whitney said. Really over. Yeah. Ji-hoon pulled her close. What do we do now? Live, Whitney smiled. Just live. They did. Ji-hoon eventually agreed to help Jae-sung rebuild the family business into something legal and ethical. It was slow work, hard work, but satisfying. Whitney finished her degree online, got a better job working with Ruth to expand her cafe into a small chain. They bought a house. Nothing huge, but enough space for them and for Thabo and Kefi when they visited. Sun-hee slowly started coming around, showed up for dinners, asked about their lives, apologized in her own way. Dongmin went to prison for 15 years. Hana married someone else. Another arranged marriage, another unhappy situation. 2 years after their courthouse wedding, Ji-hoon and Whitney had a real ceremony. In Lesotho, in the mountains, with all their friends and family watching. Thabo walked Whitney down the aisle. Kefi was her bridesmaid. Ruth cried through the whole thing. I'm marrying you again, Ji-hoon said, grinning. Third time's the charm, Whitney teased. First time was the charm. This is just making it official. When they kissed, a real kiss this time, soft and sweet and full of promise. Everyone cheered. At the reception, Whitney found Ji-hoon on the edge of the crowd, watching everyone dance. Happy? She asked. The happiest. He pulled her into his arms. You know what I was just thinking? What? That everyone feared the Korean Mafia boss's fiancée. He smiled. Until the black waitress did the unthinkable. Loved you, Whitney supplied. Loved me. He kissed her forehead. Thank you for being brave enough to choose me. Thank you for being brave enough to choose yourself. Whitney rested her, head on his chest. For choosing us. They danced under the stars in the mountains of Lesotho, surrounded by everyone they loved, and for the first time in either of their lives, everything felt exactly right. Not perfect, but right. And that was enough. 3 years later, when their daughter was born, half Korean, half Basotho, all perfect, they named her after Whitney's grandmother, a reminder that courage and wisdom and love could conquer anything, even fear. All right, I'm gonna need you to tell me honestly. Did this story do it for you, or nah? Comment below. Hit that like button if you're feeling it, and share this with someone who loves a good underdog romance. Oh, and subscribe because the next one's coming soon, and you don't want to miss it.